Hey, hope you enjoyed the 3-day weekend. We are back at it with our pregame proverb, finishing out Psalms chapter 17. Back in it with wonderful wisdom today. And it contrasts those who trust in the things of the world versus those who trust in God. So we start out here with a look at those who trust in the riches of this world, the one that we're living in and talking to each other in right now. Psalms chapter 17, verse 14 tells us, "From men by your hand, O Lord, from men of the world whose portion is in this life. You fill their womb with treasure, they are satisfied with children, and they leave their abundance to their infants." So let's unpack that for a second. The verse mentions the men of the world, and that's referring to people who are living on easy street, as the psalm says, and they trust in this world. They think they're living their best life now. They got plenty of wealth, as the verse says. It also tells us that their kids are happy. Their grandkids, too, will have a big inheritance. They love their portion in this life, but therein lies the problem. This life is going to end, and we cannot have our cake and eat it too. We have to love one thing or the other, and Jesus tells us that those who will be saved are the ones who deny themselves and take up their cross and follow him. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus also points out that we can't serve two masters. We can't love God and love the world at the same time. It's one or the other. You got obedience or disobedience, sin versus righteousness, Christ or not Christ in our lives. But you can't have both, and there's no all of the above option there. And that takes us into the second half of today's reading, which talks about the path that the righteous person takes and the things that they can look forward to after this life. Psalms chapter 17, verse 15 says, "As for me, I shall behold your face in righteousness. When I awake, I shall be satisfied with your likeness." Now, he mentions there, "when I awake." And that's talking about the life after this one, falling asleep in death and then waking up. Basically, what happens after we die. And that is when the psalmist is only truly satisfied, because he will be fellowshipping with Christ in a sin-free world. And the writer tells us, "When I awake, I shall be satisfied with your likeness." So in the company and loving arms of Jesus. So you got two verses, two paths to take. There's a life of following Christ and denying ourselves the sinful desires of this life and putting our faith and hope in Jesus to shepherd us into the next life. And that's exactly what the Bible tells us. You think of the often quoted John 3:16 verse, very famously says, "Those who believe in Jesus will not perish but have eternal life." So that's one path. That's the righteous path, trusting and obeying Jesus. The other path, that's a life fulfilling our pleasurable desires, living our best life now, miring in our sin, explaining it away, and foolishly thinking that the best is happening in the here and now. And Jesus tells us this too. He talks about the narrow gate versus the widest gate. The best life now thinking, that's the wide gate that Christ tells us about in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. Jesus says, "Enter by the narrow gate, because the gate that is wide and easy, that leads to destruction, and those who enter it are by many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard, that leads to life, and those who find it are few." So remember, the life that hates sin and loves Christ and makes Jesus the center of our universe, that is the life that does not perish. It doesn't end. But the life that loves all the bad stuff out there in the world and mires and wallows in it, that is the road that leads to destruction. The good news is, though, we all like sin at one point. We all lived that best life, that bad life that takes us down that eternal path to destruction. But we can also do a U-turn and head the other way, the right way. And that's Jesus' way. And we do that by trusting in the gospel and declaring Christ as King. Not just with words, though, with actions too. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care and God bless.